I want to continue a conversation that we were having yesterday late in the show, and I want to revisit it because I know that many of you were perhaps off, and maybe your schedules were a little bit different, and perhaps you were not listening by the time that I got to this in the 6 o'clock hour. And it has everything to do with DOGE and the concept of government efficiency and the effort on the part of Donald Trump and DOGE itself under the tutelage of Trump and, by extension, Elon Musk, attempting to shrink the size and scope of government. That's truly what we're trying to do. And you start with waste, fraud, and abuse, obviously. And from there, you move on to, frankly, some of the government programs that have become considered necessary over the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years and beyond. Now is a time for asking and for choosing. Are we going to choose to continue to overspend in the amounts that we are overspending, almost guaranteeing that the United States of America will fail under its own financial burden and weight? Or are we going to do something about it? Are we going to follow the lead of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and others, attempting to shrink the size and scope of government for the purpose of, obviously, ultimately saving the United States of America? And I think it is the most important conversation that we can have. I know that there has been a lot of conversation about DOGE lately, and rightly so. And what I have found almost to the point of amusement is how much the mainstream media, and it's just about everyone but Fox News Nation, talk radio, all they want to do is pick at the edges. All they're choosing to do is try to pick the nits, nitpicking. They try to pick the nits around the edges. And today, the latest nitpicking involved these nuclear individuals, these individuals that were working in the nuclear sector that had been dismissed, that were called back to service because it was determined that they had erroneously been dismissed. Now, Elon Musk made no bones about the fact that obviously there are going to be human errors made in the process of trying to dismantle a government that has extended itself well beyond its responsibility and usefulness. And we never questioned that would be the case. At the same time, all that the political left wants to discuss, all they want to talk about are these small examples of this person or that person losing their job or losing their position, this person or that person who is in a bad way because they lost their job. I'm not wishing any individual any ill will or harm. I will say that the government in and of itself unless you are a self-motivated person, unless you are extremely self-aware of the principled purpose that your job entails, government can easily lend itself to those that simply want to sit around and collect a paycheck. Unless you every day are motivated, and there are plenty of people in service to our country in the government sector that believe this. Don't get me wrong. Not everyone is a layabout. There are plenty of individuals, admittedly, that are doing hard work, doing good work, and they will be the first to tell you that there's a lot of waste that could be cut off the top in government. But what I said yesterday, and I'm going to repeat it, is that for my 25 years of doing this radio show, we talk about government waste, we talk about overspending, and we talk about the trillions of dollars that we are in debt quite a bit. And invariably, if we have leftists on this radio show, or if you listen to leftists on the talking head media networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, hashtag never CNN, MSNBC, and the like, you'll hear these leftists and their minions in the mainstream media. And over the 25 years, they always nod in agreement. They always bob their heads up and down when fiscal watchdogs like myself suggest that we have to get our spending under control. Obviously, you first focus on waste, fraud, and abuse. Once you get that done, you have to start cutting more until such time as we become balanced. You can do that by cutting. You can do that by raising taxes. I suppose that's a ideological difference in the two political parties. But if we don't do something, our nation will eventually die under its own financial burden. And for the love, I hope all of us can understand that. And it does not seem to me that the liberals and their minions in the media give a rip about any of that. They give lip service to it, and they always have. These leftist, intellectual pinky drinkers, they agree just to agree. And have for the last 25 years. Oh, well, yes, Matt, we absolutely must get this government spending. And where there's waste, there's a problem, and we need to address that, of course. And yap. Talk. Oh, they love doing it. Oh, because we can find common ground in this, Matt Murphy. And all they want to do is talk about one day. One day. We'll tackle it for real. One day we'll get to it. And how much we agree. And boy, oh boy, we really need to get on it. You know what we need to do? Say the left. We need to create a task force to do this. We need to maybe a blue ribbon commission needs to be empowered to really dig down and investigate this. We need to hire people. They'll say we need to hire people to investigate waste and fraud in government. They say. Let's hire 100, 200 folks and let them investigate it. We need to give them enough time, though. How about the next 5, 10 years? And then 5 or 10 years later, there's a big old book. It's a report. Here it is. And boom. And I set it on the desk. 1,000 pages. Big report. It only cost $38 million to create this report. And the mainstream media ignores it. And the leftists ignore it. And the Republicans ignore it. And the Congress ignores it. And everybody ignores it. And now we have 2025. And the second term of Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not seem invested in saving money his first term. I'll be the first to tell you that. He had other priorities in mind. And then sadly, COVID came along, and COVID was used not only against Donald Trump and the American people, but it was used as an open and empty piggy bank, or an open piggy bank, where we would print money, stuff it in the piggy bank, you take as much money out of the piggy bank as you get. And we saw overspending in the trillions of dollars. But now that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and DOGE are actually tearing flesh from bone, things have taken on a different tone. And these same people have been exposed because, as I said late yesterday afternoon, and I'll reiterate it and repeat it, they never meant a word of it, these people, and many of the Republicans. But I'm focused on the minions in the mainstream media, and I'm focused on the leftists that control them. They never meant a word of it, not a word. Over my entire life, not a word of it. They just lie about it and move on. And why wouldn't they? They never thought that anyone inside the system, Republican or Democrat, had the stones to do anything about it. They never thought that it would happen. Of course they didn't. Why would they? Because it never had happened. The GOP, sadly, the GOP never had the numbers to lift a finger about it. The only person that really gave lip service to it in the past was Ronald Reagan. And maybe to a certain degree, Newt Gingrich. And the Republican Congress that came about during the Clinton administration that created a balanced budget. Well, that was a blip in time. And of course they didn't. Outside of Reagan and maybe that blip in time with the Republican Congress, the GOP would only speak of the debt and speak of reducing spending when they weren't in power because it was a convenient talking point. When they got power, the GOP sadly just spent money on their own programs and overspent money on their own programs. But now that we're actually doing something, now, as I say, you tear flesh from bone, now the leftists howl and they screech and they yell and they scream. They claim that people are going to die. They are literally on social media platforms. I saw earlier today, Big Gloria Johnson telling us that, I'm sorry, did I say that? I didn't mean that. I think it, I try not to say it because, I'm some ugly, I'm not here to cast aspersions about anybody's look. She's a large woman, though. Anyway, Gloria Johnson in the Tennessee General Assembly, she's on her social media platform saying, people will literally die. I've got a hot tip for you, lady. Everybody dies. Everybody dies. The government can save no one from death. They'll scream and they'll yell and they'll mule and they'll puke and they'll scream ad hominem attacks against Elon and Trump and everyone else under the sun, to the point that they talk about constitutional crises and how all of this is illegal, and they nitpick it to death. Now some of them are even saying that overspending's not the problem, that we should tax our way out of it. The bottom line is, as I said yesterday, these people are addicted to government. They are addicts. They are like heroin addicts. All they want is their next fix. They are in, for lack of a better way to put it, a cult. The cult of government. Nothing can exist. No American is responsible enough for themselves. If COVID did not illustrate how they feel about all of this, I don't know what will. They don't look at you as adults. They look at you as children. They don't believe that you have the individual responsibility to take care of yourselves. They talk all about the greater good. And what they never tell you is that the greater good means power and control over you for them. And then they'll throw some scraps to the media minions and whoever else there is that doesn't dare question them. They underestimate and constantly have underestimated the independent and individual responsibility that you and I and the rest of America are willing to take to claw our country back from oblivion. But you better stick to it. I've been yelling about this for 25 years, and I never thought that it would be anything but talk. But now there's meat on the bone, and I don't know where it goes from here. If patriotic Americans can hold the line with this guy in the White House, with this leadership in the White House, who knows? Just keep up the work.